World Bank assures of completing all agricultural extension projects as Fadama 3 financing draws to a close.
Federal government restates commitment to the welfare of its students on the scholarships around the world.
Less than 24 hours to Christmas, correspondent hit the market to check the spending patterns of Nigerians.
I bought some sauce, which were barely 800 naira before, but today I was buying them for 1513, like that.
And on Good Morning Nigeria today, we shall continue our perusal of political party blueprints and manifestos ahead of the 2019 general elections.
Barely 2 months before Nigerians go to the polls to decide who their next set of leaders will be, the stakes keep getting higher for political parties and their candidates as they adopt various strategies to sell their plans to the electorate.
Of course, Kieran, now, the desire of every politician is to get the acceptance of the electorate and win enough votes that will give him or her the power to serve and represent the people.
And now previously, the space for candidates was narrow, especially when there were few registered political parties, and candidates who were not accommodated in those parties were basically stranded and shut out. The story is different today with the registration of more than 90 political parties by INEC.
That is very correct, Kieran. And the parties are so many that they have to do a lot to reach out to the electorate and sensitize them about what they stand for and why they should be voted into office.
And now, apart from the political parties, the candidates also have a Herculean task of convincing the electorate on why they are the best among the large number of those vying for several political positions.
And indeed, the Nigerian Television Authority, being Nigeria's public broadcaster with reach that is second to none, has continued to engage political parties and their presidential candidates on what they have to offer.
So this morning, we intend to look at the blueprints of two political parties and their presidential candidates. The parties are the African Democratic Congress and the Hope Democratic Party, HDP.
Also, what plans do they have for Nigerians and Nigeria? How do they plan to deal with the challenges currently facing the nation? What is their strategy of reaching the electorate? Now, these are some of the questions we intend to find answers to this morning. But in the meantime, welcome to the first edition for the week. It's Good Morning Nigeria, reaching you live on Africa's largest television network, the NTA. I am Ruth Aguele.
And I am Kieran Umaya, John Ruth, and actually welcoming you to this edition of the program, the first for the week. And we'll also bring to you our companion segments, which include newspaper review, business, sports, foreign, and entertainment news. Well, first we shall take the news highlights with Jume Yusuf. But before then, Jume and Ruth, Christmas is in the air. And preparations are in top gear everywhere. People are still making last-minute efforts to retire or relocate to the hinterland to celebrate the occasion.
Yes, a lot of traveling has already commenced and a lot of buying. I don't know if we saw the market survey, just a brief, but Jumai will show us more in the news. Jumai, so take it away now.
Thank you, Ruth. Thank you, and you're welcome to the news.
Nigerians have been urged to keep faith with the Buhari administration as it makes effort in repositioning the country for rapid development. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo made the plea in 2 towns in Oyo State while engaging the traders and artisans on the federal government empowerment scheme.
The federal government will not relent in fighting corruption. That has been a bane of the socio-economic life of the country. And the federal government will lay a solid foundation that will bring about rapid development.
Now, the Minister of Education, Adamu says the federal government is committed to the welfare of its students both at home and abroad. The minister was speaking to the media on a number of issues relating to various scholarship schemes. He said government has offered over 20 scholarships under the bilateral education agreement for students of different countries to study in Nigeria. The minister says a total of 2,000 students are on federal government scholarships in various tertiary institutions in Nigeria, while close to 3,000 are currently on various scholarships in foreign countries.
Since the beginning of this government, we have spent about 3 billion funding the students, that is doing our obligation under the agreements on those scholarships. This is inclusive of 800 million naira so far spent in the 2018-2019 academic session.
And to agriculture now, the World Bank says it will not abandon any uncomplicated project under its agriculture support program in Nigeria. Musa Baba Aliu reports that this is coming as the federal Fadama 3 additional financing comes to an end.
Project will be closing next year. So this time the emphasis will be on how to complete all our ongoing projects so that by the time we close shop, there won't be any abandoned projects. We also put emphasis on how to sustain even the projects that are on the ground beyond the project life.
Nigeria has validated her national forest reference emission level, which is a benchmark for the United Nations to assess a country's performance in the implementation of efforts to reduce emission from deforestation and forest degradation. This is coming after a review and adoption of the draft national report for the country prior to its eventual submission to the UN for technical assessment.
I am optimistic that sooner than later, within the context of the international climate negotiations of the UNFCCC, Nigeria will begin to benefit from the potentially emerging performance-based system from RED+.
So Nigeria had pledged we will work towards 20% on our own and 45% with external help. But we have also committed to increasing this ambition, and of course part of the efforts of the RED+ will help us in getting there, even through the AFOLU component of mitigation and adaptation.
The Nigerian Navy ship NNS Delta has dismissed 3 of her personnel from service over theft of equipment from Mecca Jetty. The Commander Nigerian Navy ship NNS Delta, Commander Ibrahim Dewu, says after thorough investigations, the personnel faced a military court-martial.
Sometimes in June, some of our personnel that were deployed in a jetty, Mecca Jetty, to keep duty, were caught stealing some of the equipment in that jetty. Now, when the report was made to the base and they were arrested, both with them and the civilians that were involved, a thorough investigation was carried out. After the investigation, a court-martial was recommended, and these 3 personnel from NNS Delta were court-martialed. The sentence that was given after the court-martial, that we are carrying out the naval procedure for a dismissal, and we are going to send them to prison.
The Nigerian Navy says it remains committed to her primary responsibility of protecting the nation's waters and will not condone any form of criminality from our personnel, as anyone caught will face the full wrath of the law. That's the news for now. Good Morning Nigeria continues with Ruth and Kieran after this break.
Unemployment, notably youth unemployment, features strongly in our party's manifesto. We intend to attack the problem promptly through revival of agriculture.
The 30K is going a long way. Actually, I bought an acre of land for 60K like 2012, and presently I have a cassava farm and a yam farm.
Reorganized, trained, and fully equipped, we are the new improved Nigeria Police Force. We fight crime, we bust syndicates. Whatever the crime, wherever the hideout, the Nigeria Police Force will get you busted. Stop kidnapping, armed robbery, murder, pipeline vandalism, and other criminal activities. Be productive. Be security conscious. Join the police force to secure your life and property. This message is from the Nigeria Police Force Public Relations Department.
My name is Mrs. Felicia Odunola Olojede. I'm living at Ibadan. I'm selling shoes at Oje in Ibadan here. I've been in this business from years ago. There is no government, no anybody that helped me to assist me in my market. But now I collected 100,000 from BOI program. I like the program. Now my business has been increased without any collateral, without any surety. I've returned the money back. I advise the federal government to continue with the program.
To anyone who ever pushed me to go further.
One more.
To anyone who ever gave me a hand up. To anyone who ever taught me anything I ever learned. To those who work together to set the bar higher. To those who give me the energy to go further. This is my team, and my team makes me.
What's up?
His friends didn't come.
Hey, let's practice.
But you're going out.
Don't worry about me.
Nothing satisfies a mother more than seeing a child grow up. But I know as he sweats, he'll face the risk of germs which can cause skin irritation.
That's why you need the new best ever Dettol Cool. Its new advanced formulation with extra menthol protects from up to 100 illness-causing germs and gives your family icy cool freshness.
Growing up needs Dettol protection.
Cadbury Hot Chocolate 3-in-1. A delicious combination of rich cocoa and wholesome goodness of milk. Just add hot water to get an instant chocolatey treat that delights your senses. Cadbury It's chocolate 3 in 1. Just add hot water.
Who am I? I'm a caregiver, a slayer,
Give them.
a boss lady, a foodie. I am the chief quality inspector and chief organizer. And when I'm cooking with my Maggie Star, I become a kitchen grand master.
Every day, you choose to make the difference. That's why you choose Maggie Star, made from natural soya beans and the other carefully selected ingredients to help you cook the difference.
I am the chief enjoyment officer, and I'm the magnet that brings my family together. Need I say more? But best of all, I love what I do.
With Maggie, cook the difference.
Thank you for staying with us. Now let's talk business news. With less than 24 hours to the 2018 Christmas celebration, a market survey suggests that Nigerians are exercising caution in their expenditure for the Yuletide. Joy Uzo will tell us more.
Compliments of the season. It would seem that many Nigerians this year are being cautious with their spending ahead of the Christmas and New Year festivities. A survey at some markets in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, revealed that in comparison to last year, patronage of traditional food items at this time of the year reduced, while the same cannot be said with drinks and beverages. At the Utaku market, the traditional hustle and bustle of traders selling their wares and consumers making purchases was notably absent, with current economic situation being identified as a main reason. Traders, for example, lament the fact that due to low patronage of chicken, they have had to reduce the price of the much sought-after commodity.
Now, this chicken, last year, we sell like 6,000, 5,000 naira, but now, you need to price them like 4, 5, 35. So, and they still don't pay us. This far away this year, the food where they chop before they come big like this one, it's not a small money.
At the Wuse market, there was, however, a slight increase in the price of commodities.
I bought some sauce, which were barely 800 naira before, but today I was buying them for 1513, like that. So things have really gone up.
What was the reason that they gave?
Christmas. Everybody's reason is Christmas. Not really that anything has gone up or anything, but just Christmas. Because of the spot, the moment, it's Christmas. And we must celebrate Christmas.
Some people are smiling to the bank, but for us, we're hoping for a better Nigeria. That's all I've got to say.
Well, for some consumers, the general feeling is that this will not dampen the high spirits usually associated with the festive season, as they have always expected the price of commodities to increase at such times. In another development, experts are calling for increased patronage of Nigeria's tourism destination this Yuletide. While some experts commend the efforts of government in the sector, others called for an upscale in funding to make the sector more viable.
The industry has not been, funded enough. The industry can generate a lot of wealth and has a lot of advantages, but it needs to be funded more than the way it is now.
And if you take Abuja as a zone or as a destination itself, you find out that we don't have much developed tourism resorts. We are still talking about developing them. During holidays, people don't have much places to go to. You only see people going to the gardens or people going to shopping malls. It's not supposed to be like that. We're supposed to have areas that are developed. Let's take, for instance, the Jabi Lake. That area is supposed to be put into better use than what it is today.
Now to equities, a total turnover of 1.472 billion shares worth 18.678 billion naira in 15,610 deals were traded last week by investors on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange. The NSE All-Share Index and market capitalization appreciated by 0.33% to close the week at 30,773.64 and 11.241 trillion naira, respectively. Similarly, all other indices finished higher with the exception of the NSE CG and NSE banking indices that depreciated by 0.05% and 2.20% respectively, while the NSE ASEM index closed flat. The financial services industry measured by volume led the activity chart with 918.303 million shares valued at 11.015 billion naira, traded in 9,154 deals. And it is on that note that we'll wrap business news. Thanks for your time. I'm Joy Uzo.
And that's Joy Uzo with business news. And next for us on Good Morning Nigeria is newspaper review.
Welcome back, and our newspaper reviewer, Bayo Atoyebi, is already in the studio. Bayo, good morning.
Good morning, Ruth.
How is preparation for Christmas?
It's just high on prices are soaring because the marketers too want to make their money.
Okay.
Good morning.
You know, it's usually
good morning, Nigeria.
It's usually a chain reaction.
Yes.
You know, everybody wants to make more
Even
money.
Transportation fare has gone through the roof.
Especially if you are moving towards other parts of the country, from Abuja, for instance, or from Lagos to other parts of the country. It's like there's this trend of movement, across the nation. All right, Bayo, you're welcome. And to kickstart the newspaper review, I have here the Daily Independent inside page story. It is on page 10 that will have a story. Avoid promotion of hostility, chaos in political conflict coverage. Experts warn journalists. And then on the left-hand side, we have Obasanjo advocates collective solution to national security. And then moving close, below the photograph on the on page 10 of the Daily Independent, we have 2019. That's the kicker. Don't betray public trust. INEC warns staff. And then on the right-hand side, we have Edo court restrains rubber firm from entering community land. And lastly, on page 10 of Daily Independent for this morning, CPC lauds NCC's threat to sanction network providers over illegal deductions. CPC stands for the Consumer Protection Council. Ruth.
Okay, I have New Telegraph here, just above the masthead. It's saying income tax, big banks pay 97 billion naira in 9 months. And just below that story, 40 million SMEs operating in Nigeria without Corporate Affairs Commission registration. You find that story on page 4. And the first one I read, you find it on page 5. And just below the masthead there, there's some stories. Explosion rocks APC's campaign office, buses burnt. The story is on page 9, and next to that, 100 billion naira sukuk oversubscribed. DMO, that's from the Debt Management Office. The story is on page 2. Party to court, jail INEC chairman over disobedience of order. You'll find that story on page 31. And the leading story is on Christmas. Anger, frustration over 100% hike in fares. Airlines fully booked until January. Commuters lament one way from Lagos to Owerri. Enugu, Port Harcourt cost 60,000 naira. Reps go on recess without salaries. The story is on page 2 and 8. Bayo? Just what Karen was mentioning about the fare.
Reps go on recess. They will not resume until January 16th. And that report is indicating that they have gone without their salaries. However, the Social Economic Rights Accountability Project has gone to court in Lagos, and they are asking the court to stop 14.2 million allowances and salary said to have been paid to Senator Joshua Dare. The suit was filed involving suing the Senate President and the National Assembly Service Commission. SERAP is saying that for anybody who has been convicted, he is in the position like somebody who is not eligible to contest election, because they cite section 61 of the Constitution that says that any the criteria for qualifying for election when vitiated stops anybody from earning the salary. They said that Joshua Darie was paid a salary of 750,000 and an allowance of 13.6 million while still serving a jail term, having been convicted for embezzling 1.1 billion from Ecological Fund of Plateau State. The setup is saying that the National Assembly, particularly the Senate President and the National Service Commission, should come to court to explain this. Also in Mina, Niger State, 11-year-old girl who has developed vesico-vaginal fistula as a result of an alleged sexual abuse by a 20-year-old man is in their danger. In Niger State, a magistrate court has set the young man, has granted the man, 20-year-old man, bail, and the Association of Lawyers in Niger State have taken up the case with Niger State government. They are challenging that such is an abuse, particularly if we recall the case of Mercy Okanya in Benue State, the girl who was so abused by father and son, who eventually died from the VVF she suffered for. The case has been taken up with the Ministry of Justice, and the suspect, who has been granted bail, is alleged to have threatened the 11-year-old victim with death if she revealed anything about his sexual escapades.
But you didn't talk about the hiking price?
Well, it is expected.
Okay.
When there is Salah, either Eid al-Fitr or Eid al-Kabir, or when there is New Year or Christmas and people have to travel, transporters, marketers see it as an occasion to extort. And there's very little anybody can do, because for transportation is the traveler's market. And if you have to travel, you have no choice but to subscribe to that. But what the concern now is that even airlines now have joined in hiking the price, as is indicated by that report, 60,000 to travel from Lagos to Enugu. That is unheard of.
All right, now let's return to the next newspaper, which is the business report. That is on the Daily Sun newspaper, I beg your pardon. That's on page 24 of page 27 rather of the Daily Sun, which has one story here: how to stop fake products import in maritime domain. That's actually the major story here. But we have yet another one that says the stakeholders decry poor maritime sector contribution to the GDP. But let me take this headline on the Daily Trust before Bio comes in, or before Ruth comes in again. Now, the main headline says why Boko Haram appears strong, says Buratai. And above that, we have 2019, that's Kika. ECOWAS leaders want free, fair elections in Nigeria. That story can be found on page 3 of the Daily Trust. And let's go below the photograph on the front page of Daily Trust this morning. We have some striking headlines there. Buhari to Nigerians, vote only credible candidates. On page 13, then only 22 states have presented 2019 budgets, on page 17. And Kaduna inaugurates Committee on Criminal Justice Monitoring. Details on page 10. Ruth.
Okay, and inside the page of Daily Sun, that's page 37. This is on business news now. Experts warn against indiscriminate installation of liquefied petroleum gas plants at filling stations. That's on page 37. And there's another story here. Interconnect debt. No telecom subscriber will be disconnected. That's NCC, Nigerian Communications Commission, as this Nigerian Securities Commission assures multiple account holders won't be prosecuted. That's from Daily Sun inside page 37. Bayo?
Yes, talking about liquefied natural gas or petroleum gas at filling station, that is a danger that has been highlighted. You will recall that there was a gas explosion some time ago in Anambra, and another one recently at Nasarawa. And particularly in the case of the Nnewi, the challenge came to the fore, and the state government said they were going to take measures to stop liquefied natural gas being located in the same location with petrol stations, and also to make sure that they are far away from residents. That will go a long way if that is done to reduce incidences of fire. But talking about the story you read about voting and vote buying, voter credibility. The Catholic Bishop of Oka, Paulina Eziokafor, has declared vote buying as a sin. The bishop says warn politicians and the electorate indulging in vote selling and buying that they are indulging in an act that is a sin against good governance. In his Christmas message, he said, vote buying is a form of bribery. Both the seller and the buyer of votes are guilty of the offense. He says it is a sin against the 11th commandment, he said, and those who indulge in it lack conscience and must come for confession. He rationalized that those who trade in votes are trading away pittance, votes, and they should know that they are trading away the socio-economic development they are yearning for. Meanwhile, there has been a meeting that is supposed to go on with the governor of the central bank along with Depot and Product Marketers Association. The meeting is to resolve the discrepancy between the figures approved by government for payment to marketers as well as the claim by marketers. It will be recalled that the central bank explains that there are certain interest that is required to be charged on the sums they are to pay. Meanwhile, the Nigerian Labour Congress has instructed all unions to mobilize for mother of what it described as all protests. This is, according to the Labour, this is to ensure that the minimum wage of 30,000 is implemented. Labour had given 31st December as deadline. President Muhammadu Buhari, while presenting the 2019 budget, also highlighted the increase in the recurrent expenditure as a result of accommodating the minimum wage.
Now, however, where are we in this minimum wage saga? Which stage are we at the moment? Because, of course, the governor of Nasarawa State just yesterday, published that the state can start the payment of 30,000 naira from January this year. Now, what does that next year rather? Now, what does that tell us? What has been this moving up and down with respect to the issue of continuing the conversation on the issue of minimum wage, especially with respect to the fact that the process has to also return to the National Assembly, for a review before it can become law.
I think it is the challenge with the process. The tripartite committee has sent in their report to the Federal Executive Council. The Federal Executive Council is supposed to look at it and raise an executive bill to the National Assembly. To anticipate and preempt that, the tripartite committee proposed an executive bill which they expect that the executive will just look at and pass on to the National Assembly. But unfortunately, the National Assembly is on recess and they are not returning until January 16th. But if you are to follow the process, not only will the executive look at the proposal, they will now have to propose an executive bill that will go to the National Assembly. And for a bill to become law, it has to pass through the first, second, and third reading, and probably public hearing before the National Assembly will pass it and the President will assent. That is the process. And Labour has been patient because the past minimum wage has been long overdue for review, and that is why there is pressure everywhere.
But it has been promised that the National Assembly will expedite action, as soon as the bill gets to the House.
Yeah, there's no shortcut to the process that we just discussed. So for legislation, the process has to
follow its course.
Followed its course.
Workers can't wait. The anticipation is high.
Exactly.
All right, editorial.
Okay. Well, now, let's go to the editorial for today. It's taken from the Daily Independent newspaper. It's actually on page 16 of that newspaper. He says, our view, possession of voter cards by foreigners. Barely 2 months to the much-awaited 2019 general elections, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has again raised the alarm regarding possession of voter cards by some foreigners residing in Nigeria. Bayo, how is that possible?
Yes, that is possible because the INEC commissioner in charge of outreach and partnership, Dr. Adewale Ogumola, was the first to reveal this because he said during the registration, some foreigners made attempts, but they were stopped. However, you will recall that the Nigerian Immigration Services apprehended and seized about 2,000 voters' cards in Lagos. And the Controller General of Immigration, Muhammad Babandede, also has handed over about 700 voters' cards recovered from foreigners in Abuja to the INEC chairman. And that is why the INEC chairman is raising concerns. And all the concerns are towards the stakeholders. And who are the stakeholders? Politicians and political parties who indulge the foreigners to come and register and possess voters' cards. Again, it is still the same politicians. So what they are saying, the editorial is saying, is that all stakeholders, which includes the INEC, political parties, as well as the National Orientation Agency and Broadcasting Organizations of Nigeria, should carry out serious sensitization, and every citizen should also be alert. If you know a foreigner and he has voters' registration card, on the day of voting, point him out and the security agencies will handle him, because it is legal for foreigners to vote in Nigeria. That is abusing our hospitality.
All right, Ruth.
Well, Bayo, thank you so much. That's it on the papers this morning. Thank you very much, Bayo. Wishing you a Merry Christmas.
Yes, in advance. Tomorrow. Thank you, yes.
And we're going to see you here tomorrow again.
I thought you said Christmas. I should stay away.
No.
Okay.
The other time you were in Saudi Arabia for Salah, yes. Isn't it? And we were here.
Yes.
All right. And tomorrow we expect you to be back here.
All right.
We'll celebrate Christmas together. Okay, now let's go on a break. And when we come back, we shall be reviewing 2 political parties. Let's go on this break.
Hate speech is not a joke. It incites genocide and crimes against humanity. Most of Africa's civil wars are caused by hate speech from one tribe against another. We don't want it here. The Nigerian government stands firm against hate speech.
Under no conditions whatsoever should we tolerate or excuse or justify hate speech or hateful conduct of any kind, especially where such is illegal.
There's no doubt that the resurgent push for separatism, as well as the rising cases of ethnic and religious disharmony, are all traceable to the growing phenomenon of hate speech.
One nation bound in freedom, peace and unity.
Nigeria, one nation, one people.
This is a public service announcement brought to you by NTA.
In line with the vision of promoting probity, accountability and transparency in the management of public funds, the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation has unveiled Compendium on Fiscal Rectitude in Government Revenue and Expenditure.
The Treasury Journal that we've recently launched dwells largely on the operations of the Treasury, and in particular the reform initiatives that we drive as the Treasury, namely the Treasury Single Account, the IFSAS implementation, the IPPS, and a host of others.
Very incisive and educating. Grab a copy of the Treasury Journal from your vendor and get abreast with financial transactions such as monthly allocations within the federal, states, and local governments, Buhari's transformation policy on the Treasury, inroads to IGR, and many more mixed grilling stories. Remember, the Treasury Journal is a dependable ally for researchers, financial institutions, the academia, and policymakers. Treasury Journal, a fiscal rectitude in managing public funds.
These days, people get their news and information from more media sources than ever before. Some of the news and information given are fake, unverified, doctored, and manufactured to create confusion, stir disaffection, and cause disunity. Before you believe or share any news, ask yourself, is this real? Is it from a credible source? Is it verified or verifiable? Fake news is dangerous, whether you do it for fun or for political gains. Real people can get hurt. Fake news, don't create it, don't spread it.
This is a public service announcement from NTA.
The Aerial Assurance Challenge.
Oh, thank you. But what assurance can you give our daughter?
Everything. With the new look Aerial, I can even do the laundry.
Prove it then.
Okay.
Let's make this stain even tougher.
Now, let's wash the cloth with your detergent and with new look Aerial. Do you
Ariel, now in a new look pack.
Psst, you in the air-conditioned office with the itchy throat. Strepsils. Girl in the spotlight with the raspy throat. Strepsils. You in the pollution. It's you. Dry throat. Strepsils. Hello in the downpour with the scratchy throat. Take Strepsils. Strepsils, with its soothing medicinal ingredients, will heal the harm done to your throat from external factors. Strepsils. Strepsils. Strepsils, for a dry, itchy, raspy, scratchy throat.
It's okay, I'm okay.
What happened?
It's just a little scratch, Mom. How can I play with bigger boys if I'm afraid of little scratches, right?
What comforts a mother most is to see her child growing up.
Then I'll go.
Of course. But I know that as he learns to be brave, he'll face even more germs and the risk of infection.
That's why you need Dettol protection, because Dettol protects from up to 100 illness-causing germs.
Growing up needs Dettol protection.
Madam. Brought us as usual.
As usual. You have no problem.
For the three,
you are welcome, sir.
As usual, yeah?
Welcome. You take that one. Yeah, take that one. You don't understand? We want Nigerian homegrown rice. Finish. You don't have? You don't have?
Join the rice revolution today.
No other rice that tastes like Nigerian rice. Are you sorry? That's the Nigerian rice we are talking about. Chocolate made in Nigerian rice. Healthy food. I'm going to bring Mrs. Mobu to come to chocolate rice of made in Nigeria here. And see how it are made.
Correct.
And how they are cook it.
Correct.
Homegrown rice are good for your health. It boosts our economy and give employment to our people.
This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
You are still watching Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. And to set the stage for our discussion on political party blueprint for Hope Democratic Party and the African Democratic Congress, let's join Dennis Adegunloye for a background report.
The political landscape of any country is often agog, particularly during election periods, where political parties measure up against one another and try to woo voters with juicy promises, whether realistic or otherwise. With over 90 registered political parties ahead of the 2019 elections, the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) and the Nigerian electorate seem to have a lot on their hands as candidates aspire to occupy various offices. As Africa's largest television network, the NTA is also leading the media in playing its constitutional role of educating and informing Nigerians about the blueprint of candidates and political parties by providing the platform required. This morning, two political parties will have the floor to tell Nigerians what they have to offer. These are the Hope Democratic Party and the African Democratic Party. Hope Democratic Party some years ago won a legal battle, having been deregistered by INEC. Now a legally established political party, it is said that the party's manifesto has a people-oriented ideology, with a 5-plan revolution blueprints for a new Nigeria which would also be applicable in the states. Hope Democratic Party also claims to reject the old order of exploitative capitalism and would want to institute a new order to guarantee wealth redistribution with focus on industrialization and creation of jobs. For the African Democratic Party, ADC, there is so much it is also promising. The national chairman of the ADC, Ralph Nwosu, has repeatedly said that the party is poised to build a continental brand through the provision of a role-modeling leadership. With the masses clamoring for issue-based campaigning as opposed to the fanfare and smear campaign in some cases, what are the key issues that these two political parties intend to bring to the table? These and more will be the focus of discussions on Good Morning Nigeria shortly.
Thank you, Dennis. And now to start the discussion this morning, we're starting with African Democratic Congress. And joining us now in the studio is the presidential candidate of the party, Dr. Obadiah Mielafia. He's also the former deputy governor of Central Bank of Nigeria. Welcome to Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you so very much, Ruth, and thank you so very much, Kieran. Thank you for having me.
Dr. Melafia, you're welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, you just told us a short while ago that today is your birthday.
Yes, today is my birthday.
Yes,
thank you so much. I'm so happy. I'm so delighted.
Great, great. And we have you on this platform.
Mom, I love you so much.
All right.
My mother is
thank you.
She's always celebrating
your birthday. All right, thank you. Now, African Democratic Congress is relatively new in the nation's political landscape. Now, what is the philosophy behind the doctrine of this party?
We, the African Democratic Congress, stand for a new Nigeria that is the driver of the African Renaissance. There's an African Renaissance that is coming up, in which Africa will be governed by Africans in the interest of Africa. And there's nobody, no country, that can lead that renaissance except Nigeria. Nigeria has a manifest destiny to be the leader of Africa and the leader of the black race. And I will tell you a secret. Believe you me, if Nigeria doesn't make it, there's no hope for the black race. There's no hope for Africa. We are the only people that the African people are waiting for. So the leader of Nigeria will not be just the leader of 200 million Nigerians. You'll be the leader of 1.5 billion black people who look to us for leadership, for liberation. We stand for a new Nigeria. We stand for leadership based on vision and courage. This is what we stand for. And our blueprint, which we unrolled some weeks ago, is anchored on 4 cardinal pillars. Okay. The first pillar is peace. Peace with security and justice, because without peace, nothing can be done. The second pillar is people. We're going to invest in people, in youth, in women, because they are the majority. Women and youth are the majority in this country, and yet they have no voice. We're going to give them back their country. We'll give them back their voice. We will empower them. We intend to create 10 million jobs in the next couple of, at least 5 years. We want to build a $1 trillion economy by investing in people. People are the new wealth of nations. We're going to invest in jobs, in industries, and in skills. And we're going to revolutionize our education curriculum to put the emphasis on STEM. STEM means science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, to give people skills that will make them competitive and employable. The third P is power and infrastructures. On day 1 of the presidency, I will pass an executive order. This NTA building that you are seeing, we must put solar panels on it. Every government building.
We'll go to details, yes. Specifics, much later in the course of the conversation.
Okay, fantastic.
But let's get down with this philosophy of yours. Nigeria's foreign policy thrust has always focused on Africa. And the nation has in the past liberated or assisted in the liberation of many African countries. Until today, it's still playing a key role in ensuring that Africa survives politically and economically. Now, what are you going to do differently with respect to this philosophy, of Africa, which is, of course, is in your focus?
But I'm sorry to say right now we don't even have a foreign policy. There's no foreign policy. What is the foreign policy of the current administration? They have no foreign policy whatsoever. They are just groping in the dark. They are not giving direction to anybody. I mean, for example, the African Continental Free Trade Area. We were not involved in it. In the last minute, we couldn't even sign it because we couldn't agree with it. So if you are the leader of Africa and you are not involved in the process, then what kind of leader are you? What we are going to do is a proactive approach to foreign policy. We are going to take the driver's seat. We're going to take the leadership role in Africa. Of course, we are not going to be this bossy
But, information has it that Nigeria was involved in what we just mentioned. You know, it played a key role in it before actually signing it. It's not as if Nigeria was not part of it. You know, that's what the information has.
No, I'm not saying Nigeria was not part of it, but if you were truly, truly a part of it at every stage, why did you, at the moment of signing, discover that you couldn't sign it? Because you were not part of it.
Okay, now let's move on to what you're going to do.
What we are going to do is to, re-energize our foreign policy. We want a foreign policy that is anchored on Nigeria's national and fundamental interests. Over these decades, we have never even defined what our national interests are. You cannot say Africa is the centerpiece. I'm sorry to say it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. You cannot say anybody is the centerpiece. Nigeria is the centerpiece of Nigeria's foreign policy. And everything must be based on the litmus test of our fundamental national interests. Of course, we'll start with our neighbors. We'll start with ECOWAS. We'll start with the rest of Africa in a series of concentric cycles. What we also plan is to create a grand strategy, because Nigeria doesn't have a grand strategy. There's no country that is our size and potential that does not have a grand strategy. I was mentioning to somebody in the Ministry of Defense. He said, waiting be that one. He doesn't even know what grand strategy is.
Okay.
So I don't know, is it ignorance or intellectual laziness? But right now, let me be very honest with you, Nigeria's prestige is at its lowest forms ever. So lowest level. Nobody respects us. They want our money, but they know that we are not a country that is serious. We are not a country that is focused. We would bring back intellectual focus to this country.
Dr. Melafia, now, part of your mandate of the ADC is that the party belongs to no one but to Nigerians who subscribe to the ideals of the party.
Yes.
Now, I know many a times Nigerians are familiar with, political parties come up with great promises on how to rebuild Nigeria.
Sure.
For you, as a presidential candidate, why are you running for this?
Ruth, this is a wonderful question, and thank you for it. Let me say it in all honesty. And I'm deeply upset, like many of my colleagues were, that the whole broadcasting, the national debates that took place, ADC was not involved. We were never even consulted. I don't know what they are afraid of. And you saw the result of the debate. There was no intellectual content. They had no solutions. They're afraid of people like us because they can't match us in any intellectual debate. I'm sorry, with all due humility. None of these people can match us in intellectual debate.
Let's not make reference to
it is important.
Yes,
it is important.
Let us move on with what you have.
Yeah.
I know. Because we feel slighted because they are sidelining us, because they are afraid of what we have to offer this country. They are very afraid, especially the old, recycled
why are you running?
Politicians.
Why are you running?
I am running because, with all honesty, and I say this with all humility, before God and before all Nigerians, I am the servant leader that this country has been waiting for. I know the anointing that I carry. I am the servant leader this country is waiting for. And I'm not entering it out of flippancy. I'm entering it with a serious commitment and a sense of destiny. That I'm going to rebuild this country. I'm going to create a people's government. I will not bring my tribesmen from my village to come and take over the country. I will not rule on the basis of religious bigotry, the way we are seeing it now. I will not rule on the basis of nepotism and incompetence. I will rule with vision and courage. I'm going to build a new Nigeria. And I will serve the people with the total fear of God and with love and compassion.
No.
I'm sorry to say, this country is being ruled by foreigners today. That is why they are so ruthless. They are so ruthless. They have no love for this country because they know it's not their country. I am a bona fide Nigerian. I love this country. I will love this country until my dying day. I will fight for the orphans. I will fight for widows. I will fight for the jobless youths. I'm going to build a new Nigeria. Watch this space. watch the space.
Okay, Dr. Melafia, you have said a lot so far, so good. And, you know, part of the things that have come up during campaigns is that political presidential candidates or candidates of any political party are urged to focus on issue-based campaigns. Now, transparency and integrity forms the yardstick of good governance. Now, for you, what are you willing to change? You've talked about peace. How do you intend to implement all of that?
Well, transparency is important. And
as regard to corruption?
That is why some of us, it's not been easy getting the political space, because we have never defrauded this country. I worked in the central bank. I was in charge of very sensitive departments, controlling billions of dollars. I'm proud that I never stole $1. I never defrauded this country of $1. Never. Anybody that has any information that I did should go and bring it. I'm happy to tell the whole world, and I'm very proud of it. So I come with clean hands. I come with the courage of my convictions. So we are going to lead by example. We will show the world that in this country, there are people who stand above the parapet. There are Nelson Mandelas in this country. They may not have stolen wealth that they are bribing people up and down to vote for them, but there are people like us. And I appeal to Nigerians, especially the youths, give us a chance. Give me a place to stand, and I can move the world. I can move this world in the interest of all Nigerians. So we would rule on the basis of governance. And as a principle, all our cabinet ministers will, the day you are sworn in, you have a performance contract. This is what we expect you to achieve. And every quarter, every 6 months, every year, there will be an evaluation. They do that in Rwanda, and it's been very successful. So, a lot of the time, it's not really the lack of ideas. It is the nitty-gritty of implementation. That's where the devil is. In this country, you have 60–70% of projects abandoned. They'll start something halfway, abandon it. They'll start a bridge here, after 10 years, they abandon it. They'll start a road here. In fact, they've given contract, some of these highways, they've given contract 3–4 times. I'm going to dust up all these reports, and those people will pay for it. When we give huge contracts, we'll create a database. All Nigerians, including school children, will be able to monitor progress of those projects. Anybody that is falling short, we will rescind the contract and give it to those who are ready to work. And I can tell you, as you see me, I don't intend to get sick. So I will never go abroad for any medical treatment. For the first 100 days, I will never leave this country.
All right.
I've traveled to over 100 nations. I'm not in a hurry to go anywhere. I will stay in this country and serve the people of
Dr. Melafia, thank you very much indeed for your positions, you know, so far in this conversation.
Yes.
You know, we've had other candidates of different political parties on this platform who have also told us similar things that you have said this morning. You already pointed out the fact that the main issue is in the implementation of policies of government. Nigeria never lacked when it comes to the issue of, you know, blueprints and good policies, you know, but when it comes to implementation, we begin to have difficulty. Now, let's go to the economy of this country.
Sorry, sir. I don't think they ever raised their hands and told you that they have never defrauded the country. Okay. I'm the only one who has. And I worked in Central Bank. You can never see more money than in Central Bank.
Now some of them...
And I came with clean hands, and I came with courage and convictions,
all right,
with the intellectual capital to implement.
I will allow you.
That's the difference.
I will allow you to continue, but let me just drop this question because that has to do with the economy. This nation has operated mono economy for over 40 years, and it's not a production nation or a productive nation in terms of you know, producing materials or machinery and what have you. And you have worked in the Central Bank of Nigeria, which of course an economic hub of the nation in terms of planning and policy implementation. Now, what are you going to do differently with respect to how to diversify the economy and turn you know, the nation around in terms of wealth?
Thank you, Kirian. That is the biggest question of all, because the monocultural, rentier, petrodollar political economy that we've continued to run for over 40 years is no longer sustainable. That is the fact. For two reasons. Number one, everybody has oil. Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire, Niger, everybody has oil. So it's not a big deal to have oil. And because everybody has oil, the price continues to go down because there's oversupply in relation to demand. The second factor is the fact that with the new industrial civilization that is emerging, based on ICT and based on, alternative energy systems, the demand for oil will continue to go down. Some of the biggest industrial nations that manufacture vehicles have given 20, 25 years as the cutoff point during which no more petrol cars will be manufactured or diesel cars will be manufactured. They will all be electrical cars. So we should read the handwriting on the wall. Now, everybody pays lip service to diversification, but people don't even know how to do it. I gave the annual speech last year of the Nigerian Economic Society. I gave the keynote address to the whole Nigerian Economic Society, and it was based on the theme of structural diversification. To do it successfully, because countries like Dubai, Qatar, they've done a lot of diversification. Brazil, Malaysia, Indonesia, they've diversified the economy. How do you achieve that? Number one, you must build an enabling environment. Number two, you must fix the power challenge, because you can't talk of industrialization and infrastructures without power. We have to fix the power challenge. We have to revamp our infrastructures. And my strategy is anchored on an agro-based industrial revolution. Focus on agrarian reforms, have food security, produce enough agricultural products, and then build industries that are linked to agriculture, food processing, and the rest of them, and then move up the value chain. And the focus should not just be on the domestic market. Even though we have a huge domestic market, you also have to build for global markets. China, India, they will continue to need a lot of food, processed foods, and the rest of it. Then build the skills, because you need people in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. The areas I also see coming up is industrialization. And when people talk about, let's just go back to agriculture, they don't know what they're talking about. You can't just go to agriculture in the old way we've been used to. It has to be agribusiness, and it has to be an agro-allied industrial revolution in which food production, agrarian production is linked increasingly to food processing and to agro-based industries, and scaling up the value chain. So tapping into all our natural resources, turning them into marketable products for local as well as global markets. Agriculture, industrialization, iron and steel, tourism, solid minerals, chemicals. Even when petrol is in low demand, Nigeria can become the biggest hub of petrochemicals in the world. Our gas reserves are expected to last 150 years. Our petrol may, if we are lucky, will last only another 50 years. But we have opportunity to become the petrochemicals hub of the world. So all these are sectors that are well diversified, But above all, we must create a peaceful and harmonious environment. Because without it, you can't be thinking of economic progress. You can't be thinking of industrialization. Nobody will build a factory in a situation of chaos and war as we currently face in this country.
Okay, Dr. Melafia, now also investing in human capital is key to a sustained development of any nation.
Sure.
Now, Nigeria has a population hitting almost 200 million, and that solely would depend on advanced growth through technology.
Sure.
What strategies will you put in place to ensure that investing in human capital thrives?
Ruth, again, you've asked a very important question. You know, Bill Gates, if you remember last year, he came to this country and he made a statement that we are pursuing the wrong policies and we are not looking at human capital. Human capital in this day and age is at the heart of national development. People are the main wealth of nations. I'm going to pursue it at various levels. We don't even have a lot of technical colleges to speak of. We're talking about post-secondary or even secondary level, senior secondary level technical colleges. And I don't mean just polytechnics. I mean places where people are trained to be plumbers, to be electrical fitters, to be able to do basic design and basic building and masonry and the lot. That is one level. The second level is right from the school curriculum. These days I'm hearing people, I have nothing against Arabic, but I heard the Honorable Minister talking that Arabic will now be in the curriculum. Our problem is not Arabic. I live in the Arab world. I speak a bit of Arabic myself. Those people are so backward. What new thing can you learn from them? Nigeria is far too important. What we need in this country today is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And I'm going to use scholarship incentives. For all women, if you are doing science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, you don't pay school fees, and we have a scholarship. That is one level. Because science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, in Asia, China, Singapore, 70% of all graduates are in those disciplines. Only 30% are in mass comm and what have you, and arts. In Africa, it's the opposite. 70% are in arts and humanities. Only 30% are in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. What can you do with that? You can't possibly have employable people. Then we will teach entrepreneurship at all levels so that people imbibe the culture of business and enterprise. We don't have to wait for government to give us a job. We can even create jobs. We can do things for ourselves. I also want to create a solidarity fund. I lived in Tunisia when I used to work for the African Development Bank. And Tunisia had a solidarity fund where the government contributes 50%, private sector, including mosques, churches, and the rest of it, contribute to it. And you can raise something like 50 billion naira, and out of this amount, or 100 billion naira, out of this amount, you give interest-free loans to young graduates coming out of school to start their own businesses. And then you mentor them through the process. So this is the way I intend to help build human capital. Okay. And I haven't heard any of my colleagues talking like that. So these ideas are very original to me. Okay, now still, you mentioned funding, which takes me to this question, Dr. Melafia. Yes. You know, running elections in Nigeria are highly expensive. Yes. How is your party and you as the presidential candidate is funding your campaign? Actually, I have been funding my campaign from my own savings, basically. And I worked as an international civil servant. It's been very difficult. And when I appeal for help, people say, this is a former CBN deputy governor. Why should we give him money? He's loaded now. And the fact they don't even realize that some of us didn't steal money. And I'm proud of that. But so it's been very difficult. It's been very tough. But we are soldiering on bravely. A few people have chipped in here and there, but nothing really remarkable. Some of the principals that were with us and promised a huge amounts of money have kind of backed off a bit. And they are waiting to see whether we can sink or swim. Okay, so you're currently having a difficulty with funding. But no. Okay, fine. I wouldn't use the word difficulty. Okay. And some of us have properties. We've invested wisely. We have properties. But I don't believe that I'm serving this country. I should be selling off all my properties in order to run a campaign. Let's talk about your party. It may come to that. I'm hoping not. But, you know, but in politics, you never say you are having difficulty.
Okay.
I'm having some challenges in taking the campaign to the level that I would have loved to.
That's why I am coming with this particular question. I want to do a kind of assessment of your party, the spread of the party, the capacity of the party to even implement some of the things we have laid out, in this conversation. So the question is, how spread is your party? We have 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory. And are you fielding candidates in all the categories of elective positions in this country against the 2019 election?
My answer to that is yes. We are fielding candidates for most of them. I wouldn't say for every governorship.
But how many states do you have governorship candidates and National Assembly candidates?
I wouldn't want to give you a figure, because if I wish I had brought the list, I could do that. But I don't want to give you figures that are not accurate. But in most of the states, we have candidates, senatorial, gubernatorial, not in all of them, but in a good number of them, in majority of them, we have candidates. We have the House of Reps, we have gubernatorial, we have senatorial, and the lot. In terms of our structures, I've been asked that question a lot. People say, well, okay, what are your structures like? And they don't realize that structures are not bricks and mortar. Structures are people. The political structures that we have are people, first and foremost. And I'm proud to say that in terms of presence, the ADC is arguably the fastest growing political party in Africa. Because from a short space of time, we've swept through so much. And in very surprising areas. In Kano, some women, many of them we don't even know. They've carried my posters all over. They've campaigned for me in all the 44 local governments in Kano State. Kebbi, the same thing. Our names are everywhere. And that is very pleasant. Even in Katsina, the home state of the president of this country, my name has gone everywhere. So, and we have a presence in every state, 37 states, if we include Abuja.
You have offices in all these states?
We don't have. We have offices in all the states. We have offices in all the states. But in local governments as well, we have presence in every ward. We also have presence. We may not have offices in every nook and cranny, but the ADC is well represented. It has robust structures, and you can only wait for this space and see the surprises we're going to come up with.
Okay, and talking about surprises, but in a very positive way this time around. Now, for your party and you as a presidential candidate, yes, what assurance are you giving Nigerians rather, to abide by the rule of law, for the consolidation of democracy to thrive, especially for a free, fair and credible elections come 2019?
Well, thank you again, Ruth. I can reveal to all our viewers that right from my youth, the greatest inspirations in my life have been two people. Martin Luther King Jr., the assassinated civil rights leader in America, and Nelson Mandela. Right from when I was a schoolboy to my adult years, Martin Luther King inspired me with his gospel of nonviolence. So I'm a believer in nonviolence. I have never been involved in any violent act or encourage anybody to use thuggery or violence. So I'm a strong believer in the rule of law, and I am committed to that. Our followers are urged to abide strictly in nonviolence. So in speech, in word, in action, we are totally committed to nonviolence. We are totally committed to upholding the rule of law. Now, when people sometimes talk about the rule of law, they don't even know what it means. The rule of law has its foundations right from the time of Aristotle. that it is better to be ruled by laws than to be ruled by men. And what Aristotle meant by that is that the laws come before any individual. So I, as a leader of this country, will anchor my leadership and my governance on respect for the Constitution, respect for the rule of law, respect for due process, respect for human rights. I think some of you may have come across the Amnesty International report that the great General T.Y. Danjuma made reference to a few days ago. I was at the carol service that, was organized. And it was fantastic. It was based on an orchestral rendition of Handel's Messiah. And at that carol service, T.Y. Danjuma made reference to the Amnesty International report. It is extremely damning.
Now,
human rights.
Let's not.
Well,
go
you want to shut me off?
No, not necessarily.
You want to shut me off?
No, not necessarily. Because of course, we don't have a representative of the government to react to human rights reports, which of course the government has said that they are not correct. So let's not go there. Now, let me ask. What I've said now has brought up a question that has to do with security of this country. Yes. Once you know, there is a major challenge confronting this country. It's nearly 10 years now that we've been having issues with Boko Haram and other sects, springing up here and there. Of course, banditry, kidnapping, and what have you. What is the strategy of ADC, with respect to tackling security challenges in this country?
Well, thank you, Kirian. This is, this is very close to home. In Godogodo, one of the districts in my local government in southern Kaduna, just last week at a wedding, in the evening, they came and killed 15 people. They just came and opened fire on them, men, women, children. It's not even in the news. Over 30 people of my own people are in hospital.
How do you intend to tackle it? That's the question.
So it's a huge problem. Look at the death of the assassination of the late CDS, Alex Bade. I mean, a whole CDS. How am I going to tackle this? Honestly, this is something that I feel deeply about, that makes me very angry, extremely angry, about what is happening in this country. We have a comprehensive strategy. What people don't know about me is that I'm not just an economist. I have a background also in military science. I worked for almost a decade as a senior fellow of the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies before I went into banking. So we have a comprehensive military strategy. We are going to man our borders properly. We are going to use technology. We are going to use drones. We are going to engage with all neighboring countries because a lot of infiltrations are coming in from those districts. We are going to create a territorial army. Britain has a territorial army. Switzerland has a territorial army. France has a territorial army. We are going to use that model to build a new territorial army, and it will be based on community security architecture, that all communities will be involved in the defense of their communities. International law as well as municipal laws gives people who face an existential crisis the right to defend their communities. Watch this space, and I'm using the language of Winston Churchill. We will fight them in the land, we will fight them in the hills, we will fight them in the forests, we will fight them in the deserts, we will fight them in the hills, we will fight them in the creeks. We will never surrender this country to bandits. This country belongs to us, and it belongs to Nigerians. So we will fight them, we will defeat them, because they are children of darkness, and we are children of light.
All right, Dr. Milafia, you've said a lot, but we have some tweets coming in. And Kieran, you want to start with the first tweet?
Yes, this one is from Mike Anyakwo, and he says the two political parties should tell us how they will coast to victory despite their relatively unknown structures in the country? Are they in the context for a settlement? Do they sell tickets to candidates as business? What strategies do they have to revamp the economy?
Okay, and Aminu Modibo is saying, since democracy has proved to be sustainable and progressive enough to be the most acceptable system of government across the world, our problems with the system must be peculiar to us. To the ADC candidates, don't express to the world what you can do, show them by doing it.
And that's when he becomes the president. Now, Ashiru Mohammed says political parties' blueprint in Nigeria have failed to address the numerous developmental challenges. At best, they represent the deceptive image of the Nigerian ruling class. Only sincere, responsible, and responsive leadership will ensure that we reach the promised land. And from Mike Anyako, ADC presidential candidate is a known player in the Nigerian political economy. May I know how the party will stabilize the rate of Naira realistically? My fear about this party is that it has not really established presence in the 774 local government areas. Paucity of funds may be an issue. All right, he says it's not an issue, but Kabiru Abubakar, this question goes to you, sir. He said, good morning, sir. Please, my question to Dr. Melafia. What has he done for his community and the extended family and society at large? He may want to know. That's Kadiba Abubakar. And Festus Akimboyewa, these new parties have beautiful plans and promises on paper, and their candidates make beautiful speeches. But they're lacking in strategy. Considering the current situation of Nigeria, we need them to justify how they will raise funds and when they will deliver their promises. Now, Dr. Melafia, we saw one of the questions from one of our the viewers who sent a tweet on how you want to, stabilize the rate of the Naira. How would you respond to that?
Very important. First of all, stop meddling with the central bank. Right now, there's a lot of political meddling in the central bank. The central bank is losing its autonomy. There's a lot of blackmail going on. I mean, how can you keep multiple exchange rates? At one stage, we had even a dozen exchange rates. And that is very wrong. You need one exchange rate, the law of one price. So if I know you, Kirian, you know me, I can give you at 200 Naira to the dollar. And Ruti, if I don't know her so well, I give her 253 or 5. What kind of nonsense is this? What kind of country are we creating?
What will you do to change that trend?
There will be one exchange rate. There will be one exchange rate in this country because they are using it as a loophole to milk this country dry. It's daylight robbery against the people of this country. So there should be more transparency in the exchange rate regime. But look, what makes a strong currency? My vision, let me tell you, to be very honest, I used to work in the central bank, and I have great respect for my former colleagues. They are working under difficult conditions. My vision is to create one of the best central banks in the world with high standards, high professional standards. And also I have a vision that Naira will become an international convertible currency. Do you know at one stage, this Naira was a convertible currency. You could go to London and use Naira. You can buy anything with Naira. Today, nobody, even our neighbors, they don't want to even touch the Naira with a barge pole. So I will bring back those glory days. But you cannot do that until you show the world that you are a person of integrity.
Okay, now let's ask you this final question.
Apply integrity to monetary policy.
Okay, now
so this is how we'll do it.
We've had a challenge, considering the relationship between the three tiers of government, with respect to the presidency and legislature.
Yes,
it has been a whole lot of agreements and disagreements in terms of passing of bills and all that. How would you create an environment of good relationship between the presidency and legislature when you became president?
Well, yes, it is politics, and often in our presidential system, there can be strong adversarial relationship between between the presidency and parliament. I intend to do things differently. A lot of the time, there are good intentions, but you see, when the executive begins to act in a way that raises a lot of eyebrows, for example, you bring all the security people from your own part of the country to the detriment of everybody else. You apply nepotism, you bring your village people.
We're talking about relationship now,
yes,
not on action. Because both sides have had issues. But I'm not sure time will allow us to continue on this, because the question has been, if presidency is not blaming the legislature, the legislature is blaming the presidency. So it's a two-way thing.
It's a two-way thing.
Right. So,
but I'm saying, well, the first point is that, look, if you run a government with integrity and standard, why is it that Yaradua didn't have much of that problem? Because he was a man of integrity.
All right.
That man hadn't been sick.
All right, we'll stop you there for now.
If you are
we'll stop you there for now.
Strong, people will respect you.
We'll stop you there for now, because experience, they say, is the best teacher.
Sure.
Right.
And please, sir,
we want to appreciate
somebody said, what have I done for my community? I used to run a scholarship for over 200 students from my community, and I'm proud of them, of that scholarship scheme. It did a lot. It helped a lot. And the families and parents have been forever grateful, and it's been very fulfilling. I've been involved in all sorts of community projects, NGO, and so on and so forth.
All right.
So it's not as if I've been sitting here in Abuja and just enjoying air condition.
Okay, that was the question by Kabido Abubakar.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Obadiah Melafia. He's the presidential candidate of ADC, African Democratic Congress. Thank you so much. And also former Deputy Governor of Central Bank. Thank you for sharing your perspective with us, and we wish you the very best. We're saying a Merry Christmas and Happy Birthday once again.
Thank you so very much. Thank you so much.
All right, let's go on this break. Good Morning Nigeria will continue, and we have another discussion coming up with Hope Democratic Party. Stay with us.
Why don't you people sell imported materials here? As beautiful as the shop is.
Auntie, buying foreign goods does not help our economy. Neither does it boost local production. And the good thing is Nigerian-made products are high quality. Really? And to make Nigeria great again, that is why I only sell made in Nigeria products. Because change begins with me.
I'm convinced. Change begins with me too.
Change begins with me.
This message is brought to you by the National Orientation Agency in conjunction with the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Nigerians. Suicide bombers are not spirits. They are not ghosts. They are human beings like you and me. They live amongst us. They are your neighbors. They are your friends today, but terrorists tomorrow. So you must know your neighbor now. Security begins with you and me. Know your neighbor. Be vigilant. Be security conscious. Report suspicious persons, objects, and movements to the police and other security agencies. The security of our nation is a duty for you and me.
If you see something, say something. Nigeria, unite against terrorism. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
We thank you for staying with us up to this moment on the program. And right now we have been joined by Malam Yusuf Ibrahim. He's the Director of Publicity, Chief Ambrose Uhuru Campaign Organization of Hope Democratic Party. You're welcome to the program.
Good morning, Nigeria.
All right, let's begin by knowing the party, or understanding the philosophy of the party, the backgrounding of the party. So tell us more about this party.
Yes, if you look at the historical development of this country, we've been endowed with resources, and our leaders, our forefathers, have really made us to understand the fact that the leadership has been a challenge right from time immemorial. But there comes a time where we need to re-energize our people to know the fact that actually the nationalists, the predominant of Nigerians, called Nigerians today, have really made us to understand that even as much as we don't have what it talk when it comes to leadership experience, and we're growing with that, but a time will come whereby we need to really experience what we call change, redirection, refocusing, rethinking. And that is why Hope Democratic Party has come into existence. We've been in existence for the past 10, 15 years. And my candidate, Chief Uhuru, has been there. He has been trying to see if he can come, to see how we can make this change a reality. So the party philosophy, in essence, is wealth redistribution and Africa endowment, where you cannot showcase what you have through wealth distribution, give it back to the society, what belongs to you. So that is the main philosophy. And we also have a book, which has been our publication. It's a public policy document of the party. We make it into a book form to show you that, yes, you are a serious party, committed to people's-oriented program. So this is a complimentary copy. You can have it.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much.
So most of all these things we're going to discuss today is encompasses in all that book.
Let's start with the title.
Yes.
For a poverty and corruption-free Africa, game changer, African welfareism and wealth redistribution. And I know your party is very passionate about eradicating poverty.
Exactly.
Now, what are the strategies, what measures we put in place to ensure that thrives?
Thank you, Ruth. The measures we took place are twofold. One is to see how human capital development could be introduced in all sectors of the economy. But talking about even going forward, we talk about restructuring. And we also make sure that economic structuring is much more better off for now. Because if you look at the title of this book here, it talks about wealth distribution and welfareism. Because the main focus of the party itself is how to eradicate poverty. It has been the main bane of this country. And how do you eradicate poverty? Is to engage people in human capital development. NTA, as you see it today, cannot be as beautiful as it is today if you don't see how human capital development has been embraced into its peak. So the main focus are twofold. Give it back to the society the way that belongs to them. And secondly, economic restructuring. How Nigeria can move forward economically by engaging our people through entrepreneurship, skill acquisition development, and what have you. So all those things are entailed in the book.
We have actually had all of these, from other political parties. So you have spoken well in the same direction, because everybody promises to bring something new, eradicate poverty and what have you. Now, talking about your party, what is the spread of this party? Do you have the capacity, to handle all of this? I'm asking this question with respect to the fact that governance is totally different from politicking. Or right now we are in an electioneering campaign period, because of the upcoming election in 2019. Exactly. Right? What kind of capacity do you have? Are you well spread across the nation to be able to, market this?
You're talking about structure.
Exactly.
Good. We are well spread all over the country, even in Federal Capital Territory. But the main bane of this spread is to get closer to people. Now we have this reality show coming up in the next 2 weeks. We had that last year. But this time it's going to embrace all sectors, whereby you people will come, the political sector will come, economic sector will come, we embrace. Talked about this country, how we can move this country forward. So structurally, we are well-based, we are well spread, even in the world levels, even the state and national.
The party has been there for 15 years.
Yes, exactly.
And what positions are your members occupying presently in the political landscape of Nigeria, from the councillorship to House of Assembly to National Assembly and what have you? You have any representative?
Yes, actually we have been contesting. We have been in the forefront, exactly, and we are well known. We have one or two before now, although it's not it. But at least we had our impacts. And those things it's on record. It's on record. It's on record.
Okay, well, you talked about spreading your wings in
Yes.
all parts of the country.
Yes.
Now, how much effort has been put in place, to reach out to the grassroots? Because usually they are the ones who are, not getting enough of the, how do I put it now? But
maybe from the resources or what?
Resources.
Yes.
But how do you intend to ensure that they also benefit, and what strategies will you put in place?
Of course, if it's like going back to what I told you earlier, the twofold policy of this party. But having said that, if you look at Nigeria generally, especially the local level, where all this distribution of wealth and all that should be embraced. You can see they are more touched than we in the cities. So what you put in place is to make sure we get to them through a sanitization program. We go there because we also educate them
what
on
about
how they
empowerment?
can. Yes, we also have that in place. Like we giving how they can have access to free housing, how they can have access to free medical care, water and what have you. Those are basic necessities. And we have encompasses all this into our policy document, which is in book form. So my president, who is going to be unveiled very soon, has all this in place. And we don't want to reveal some of our hidden agendas because...
But you need to let Nigerians know. I'm still talking about your hidden...
Because we don't want anybody to steal our policy documents.
Okay, now, you've said enough about your agenda,
exactly.
Some of it.
Exactly.
Now, if all you have said, talking about free health, empowerment, and all of that, Nigerians need to know your agenda. And for all of this to thrive, there must be corruption. There must be fight against corruption. So you need to let us into that agenda so that Nigerians will know. And how do you intend to stem the tide of corruption?
Before I answer that question, if you look at the Constitution, it's a wonderful, fantastic Constitution. If you go to section 14, thereabout, it talks about abuse of offices. And if you look at the fundamental rights and objectives, it gives you the right and what have you, the privilege of insecurity and giving back to the people what they desire. Having said that, the philosophy, going back to what you asked, the philosophy of the party itself, going back to what I said, are twofold. And to make sure this issue of re-emphasizing the people's hope, just like the party emphasized on, the people's hope, is to make sure we drive to a direction of where people really want. And take it for instance, most of our leaders, I'm sorry to say this, have lost ideas. And the ideology of the party itself is to give back to the people its words, give back to the people its hope.
In what ways?
And yes, it's by redirecting our economy.
Okay.
Like I told you, redirecting our economy into a structural economy, whereby, because if you look at it, we have been operating capitalism. But our main bane is social justice, where people have access to free medical care, like I said, free water, free housing, and all that.
What about the hidden agenda? You said
that is, I'm revealing a little one to you now.
Nigerians would love to hear all of it.
But how we are going to manage the economy and what have you, I've already told you this. All these are encompasses on these books. But having said that, the hidden agenda I'm talking about, how we are going to refocus is because if you look at our oil sectors, we know how much we make every day. We know how much we make from okay, if you go to agri sectors, there are some certain area you go into, you know how much we make. So all these things we sit down, we look at them and see how we can assess them and make sure, set up a committee to look into all those areas where people are lacking. And that's how we're going to redistribute this wealth back to the people.
Talking about distribution, what about power generation?
Good. The power generation will also come into fold on these programs. Because by the time you know what you have in your purse, you understand me, then you now focus your attention onto some of these certain areas of economic development, infrastructure development. But when you have economy development, because you talk about corruption earlier, now you're not talking about insecurity.
But you've not finished talking about power.
Yes, that's why I said that when you focus on this economy, it boils down economic structuring. You understand me? So when you get it right, you get this.
Malam Yusuf Ibrahim, yes, you have really spoken well. Yes. We wish we had your presidential candidate on this program for us to give us the real position of your party. with respect to the economy, power generation, and what have you. Because when we talk about the economy, there should be a driving policy.
Yes, the policy, that's what I told you. The policy
and
is encompassing
the best.
Yes,
as Ruth pointed out earlier on, that there is need for Nigerians to appreciate the concept, you know, the perspective of your own policy towards reviving the nation's economy.
Let me bring this to food. If you remember, with the blessed memory of Chief Obafemi Awolowo once said, and I quote, "Give me 48 hours and I will give you a policy that will turn around the economy of this country. Give my candidate, Chief Uhuru, 1 week and see how this country will turn around to a betterment."
You know, Nigerians will hold you to what you just said.
Of
1
course.
week, is it enough to transform a nation like Nigeria?
Policies that will drive the nation, not to turn.
Yes. Processes too.
Good. Do you know how much we have been on this? We've been working for 15, more than that. Even before he became a presidential candidate, he has been working hard to make sure he brings out a policy, a blueprint that will change the redirection, the rethinking of this country. We've been on this for long. It's not just now.
You know, being on the ground is different from when you're in power.
Good. And that is why, as a leader, let me give you one quote here. This quote is from me. Politicians think about elections. Good leaders think about the people. Chief Uhuru thinks about the people. That's why he has been working hard before getting to this point. So, politicians now, what is on fold now? What is on the right step of everybody now is elections. So Chief Uhuru thinks about the people. And he has been working, before he produces it, he has seen the needs for rethinking, for redirection of the people. And that's why...
Let's look at security now.
Yes,
you know, you understand the situation of security in the country.
Yes.
We've been fighting terrorism for the past 8 years or thereabouts. Yes. And there are other aspects of criminality springing up here and there. You know, banditry, kidnapping, and what have you. And some people believe that what we're experiencing at the moment is something that's moving with time. Mm-hmm. Right. So how do you intend to, you know, fight terrorism in the country and the other criminalities?
It's unfortunate that we're going through this menace. But I must praise the President, General Muhammad Buhari. He has made the effort. I must correct some impression that he's not a man of integrity. He's a man of integrity. He's a man of integrity. But moving forward, we need to engage people with intellect, people who have vast experience that can drive the security sectors around. Because it's like when you said people have run out of ideas, it comes in so food. But having said that, what you now look at what brought about insecurity in the first place. One is poverty, which we are trying to redirect people's attention. Two, lack of job. Insecurity of our people. When you engage people, like I told you, engage them through human capital development, through skill acquisitions, you understand entrepreneurship, development, and all that. You can see the insecurity will step down. It will reduce drastically. It will. There's nothing. So the redirection of the governance, I'm already exposing our hidden agenda already. Was those are the things we want to give to Nigeria. Those are the things we want to give to Nigeria by surprise.
Okay.
So that when a presidential candidate comes to there,
sorry, Madam Yusuf, that should be a yardstick why the people should vote
of
for your
course,
party.
it's
by letting them know
but
what
under
you hold.
professional ethics, you all have professional ethics, of course. There's certain things you hold to yourself. But you not come out and say yes. People not
so are you a professional politician who
yes,
is
of course.
hiding your agenda?
No, I'm not hiding my agenda. Now, I don't want people to steal into what we have here. Now, you know what you have. It's fantastic.
Let's take you to agriculture.
Yes, good.
It is believed that agriculture is one of the sectors that have been neglected for over 40 years in this country.
Of course.
But what has manifested recently is the issue of a kind of a revolution in that sector.
Yes.
Right. And I wouldn't know your own assessment of what has happened.
Yes.
But with respect to your party, which of course is the Hope Democratic Party, what are we hoping to see, you know, in the agricultural sector, you know, if you come to power?
Yes. You see, my candidate, with good sense of responsibility and all that, has put in place a lot of things to make sure that sector works. And what are the first things that he put in place? he put in place a kind of, you know, I'm still going back to what I said, how we can train and retrain. But it has to be with the engagement. It has to be with the engagement of the private sectors. Because we can't get there without engaging the private sectors. The private sectors can drive the economy. The likes of China today are socialists. Why are we going into China today? China has made it a kind of a mandate to drive their governance. By what? Introducing socialism, whereby they now engage their people into productive ventures. You understand me? So what we now bring back to agriculture in this country is to engage the private sectors within and outside to train our youth, especially the youths, and those who have been there too. They can retrain them too on the new mechanism of growing crops, food production, because we need them. Do you know, up to now, you can see, even on TV, I watched NTA recently, you can see how they seize some of these goods, rice and all that, on board is not good. That even the rice, who told you that it's only rice that can make you feel healthy? What about that food and other, this thing? You can still eat them. And so we need to reinvest and focus more on sustainable food production, where we need to move forward from where we are. And that is why the direction of Chief Uhuru is underlined.
If I may get you correct.
So we need to train our youth towards new mechanism of food production in agriculture. And our program is geared towards that.
Okay, Malam Yusuf, just for clarity from what you said about seizure of rice and all, are you saying it's not a good development or a good...
No, it's not. It's a bad omen to the country, because right now, in as much as government is trying its bits...
Should we open our borders for all manner of rice
to come in? Because the country is being saved about $500 million of import of rice. That
no, there shouldn't, but there should be moderacy and what. Even if you are going to allow that, there should be a mechanism put in place to step it, because we need to have our own production. We need to have our capacity development for people to see that yes, we are really serious. If you start allowing that to come in, it's going to be most of it. Not that we should not allow, because now right now we have our policy, we have our foreign policies. We have the equal policies is also there. Not that we should not allow them, but we need to encourage our people to.
Okay, that's a
into productive venture.
Okay, that's your opinion. But now, what stance is your party in terms of bridging the gap when it comes to ethnicity and religious intolerance?
Good.
Because for everything you have said, for it to be of success, there must be peace in the land.
If you trace the history of this country, we're a communal country. We like and love to live together as one. And we don't want to break that jinx. Why? Because Nigeria, with vast resources, 150 million or 80 million Nigerians are there, making sure that Nigeria still remains one. Our forefathers are there. Zeke of Blessed Memory, even Ojukwu, that you always focus once a while on TV, said it, that in as much as Nigeria still remains one, there's no need for war. Zeke also said it, so far Nigeria, Southwest, whoever becomes the president, so far Nigeria remains one. So the issue of ethnicity, rancor, lack of trust will not be... So our direction, in the party direction, is to make sure that people are really educated on the need for them to know that Nigeria are one and they should remain as such.
You know, we're not privileged to have the presidential candidates here share his opinion. On a final thought, we're rounding up now. Okay. What is unique about your presidential candidates? Very briefly, what is unique about him?
Yes, my presidential candidate is a fantastic gentleman who has a sense of direction.
All right, you know, we are so glad to have you on
Let me
the
praise
show
him a little so that you know.
You have praised him a lot in the program. So we have gotten your message, but you decided to, of course, hide some of your agenda, which, of course, you said you are going to see will be opened up close to the election for Nigerians to appreciate what you have in store for them if eventually you become president. We've had some tweets here, actually. More Nigerians are reacting, but we may not actually go ahead to bring you all these tweets, but we want to appreciate those who actually made it possible. And at this point, we'd like to thank Malam Yusuf Ibrahim, Director of Publicity of the Chief Ambrose Uhuru Campaign Organization of the Hope Democratic Party of Nigeria. Thank you again for coming. Right now, let's take you on sports development.
Lobby Stars head coach Solomon Ogbede has attributed the Macaulay Club qualification to the group stage of the CAF Champions League to the hard work they put for the return leg tie, which they won 2-0 to edge out Gomaya on the way goal rule applied. Lobby Stars booked a spot in the group stage of the competition following a win against Kenyan champions Gomaya at the Nnamdi Azikiwe Stadium in Enugu. Solomon Ogbede's men edged the contest on a away goals roll after aggregate scores stood at 3-3, and Enugu Rangers booked a spot in the second round of the CAF Confederation Cup following a convincing 2-0 win against Algerian club Union Sportive, also at the Nnamdi Azikiwe Stadium. The Flying Antelopes edged the contest 2-0 on aggregate, having held USMBA to a goalless draw in the first leg clash. The Enugu club are looking to become the first Nigerian club to win the competition, and a roundup of the Super Eagles players that were on target for their respective European clubs on Sunday. At the Medical Park Stadium, Anthony Wakime joined a monster outing for Transonspor in their 4-1 road of Recipe, having provided an assist and writing his name on the score sheet for the second straight